Greetings of peace. I am Dr. Z, greeting you in light, love, peace, and harmony. So this video is to give you a little bit of background on my story with this process that we're engaged in here in this group mentoring. And also want to share with you a formula for prosperity. I started this process really about 16 years ago. I learned the formula, started a business. I was able to stay in business for 10 years. And after the 10 years, business kind of dried up and I had to get a job. I also used the formula for other goals, spiritual development, family development, health during those 10 years. And I experienced freedom. It was wonderful. But I did have to get a job after 10 years, and I worked for 7 years. Started as an adjunct faculty and went to full-time faculty and then senior management. And I stayed there, again, as I said, for 7 years, but I really wasn't happy. I was kind of stuck and unfulfilled and overworked and underpaid. You know what I mean? And I decided I wanted to start a business. I had been talking about starting Universal Self-Leadership Institute, USLI, for about 5 years. All I did was talk about it and think about it. I didn't take any action. Just procrastinated. So I said, well, let me start this business. It may take me about 5 years to build, and I'd like to get it up and running so that I have some establishment when I move to retirement age. And I'm glad that I started it, because 6 months after I started it, and it began to grow, 6 months after that, I got a rift from my job. I got laid off. It was reduction in force. And fortunately, I had started the business so that I wasn't desperate. You know, so many of us are 2 or 3 paychecks away from disaster. So I was very fortunate in that respect. And I guess our only security is in our ability to perform excellently and also obey the guidance that we get from within ourselves about what we need to be doing. So yes, that was that part of it. And along the journey, I did take some group mentoring and added a few things to my game, particularly meditation and visualization, which are powerful tools, as well as reading the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, pretty much every day, and practicing that. So I hope you'll find something positive to continue to read and sink yourself into it so that it can affect you. And again, meditation, visualization, seeing what it is that you want manifested while you're deeply breathing. You can find some really nice prosperity meditations on YouTube. So let's look at this formula for prosperity. And, you know, some people, they define prosperity a lot of different ways. Some people, you know, they think of success as material possessions. I mean, we all want to be successful. We all want to have be prosperous, right? Well, some it's material possessions. Strayer University did a study in 2014 that said that 90% of Americans now define success as happiness. Now, people have different definitions of happiness. Happiness to one person may not be happiness to somebody else. I define happiness as peace of mind, and it's a spiritual concept. So on the one hand, we can have success and prosperity on the material side. We can also have success and prosperity on the spiritual side. But it doesn't seem good to be all spiritual and be broke, nor to have a whole lot of money and be unhappy and miserable. So we want to have a balance between the two, and I think this formula gives us a balance. So the outcome, of course, is prosperity, but it begins with consciousness. I'll call it spirit consciousness, or consciousness of the source of spirit, the source of life that is in everything. And consciousness of that helps us to use our intelligence rationally. When we lose that consciousness and we begin to be self-conscious, then our intellect becomes faulty and illogical and irrational. So consciousness, which is an awareness, and the more conscious and aware you are, the more energy and power you'll have, more conscious and aware you are, the more freedom that you'll have. Okay? So this starts there. Consciousness equals behaviors of trust, acceptance, and obedience. I could call that the Tao, right? Trust, acceptance, obedience. Plus behaviors of service, devotional service. Plus investing from what you've been provided with. Plus behaviors of certainty equals prosperity. Now we can look at each one of these behaviors, because what does it mean to be trusting and obedient and to be accepting? I mean, that's consciousness right there. Those are the behaviors of being conscious and being aware. If you're not aware, there are opportunities all around us for whatever it is that you want to be, do, and have. But if we're not aware of them, how can you take advantage of them, right? So, awareness, consciousness, the trust, acceptance, obedience, and then behaviors of service. Understanding that you've been given gifts, you've been given experiences and knowledge and talent and things that there are people out here in the world waiting for you to show up. Because the gifts that you have been given by the Creator, there's a way that you serve through those gifts that nobody in this earth can do it the way that you do it. That's why we want to help you figure out your purpose and figure out your vision, figure out your mission in life. Why are you here? What are you here to serve, right? So that we can crystallize that focus and then take the action necessary to give what it is that we've been given so we can be, do, and have. And so that service also is behavior of investments. And when I say investment, I'm talking about mutually beneficial and you get a return on investment. Just spending money is not an investment. Charity is not necessarily an investment. You see, you want to be able to get some return, and wasting money like consumer mentality that many people have, that's not investment. So we invest with our service, with whatever it is we've been provided with, and behaviors of certainty. You know, when you have certainty about something, you don't have any fear and doubt and worry about it. You're certain. You know that you know that you know. And there's a calmness that comes along with certainty. There's a peacefulness that comes along with certainty. And so we want to have all of these behaviors: trust, acceptance, obedience, service, investment, and certainty, and that will equal prosperity. So actually, conscious awareness equals prosperity, but we have to demonstrate it with those behaviors in between those two equal signs. Right? So with that, think about the fact that we're living this spiritual life, and consciousness is the key to freedom. Yes. But we have to think about what the problem is, because we're offering solutions. The problem is that we have habits of thoughts and feelings that aren't ours. Things that have been programmed in us by other people's habits, their limitations, the way they see themselves and the world and their opportunities. It comes from parents, it comes from teachers, it comes from coaches, it comes from society. You know, the pictures and images that we've been given of who and what we are and what we can be and do and have really been corrupted. And the problem is we learn those things early in life and we think that that's the real us, when it's not really. Because even though those things influence us through that programming, you still get to choose what you want to take in and what you want to respond to. So we need to understand how to reprogram ourselves, our hearts, our minds, our vibrations, our emotions, so that we can be, do, and have more of what it is that we want. And so I'm going to ask you to think about these three questions and really write down the answers to them, because whether your goal is health or monetary or relationships or spiritual development, whatever, manage your time better, you want to answer these three questions. First, what are you doing? What are you doing in terms of your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors in relation to that goal? What are you doing now? Not what you used to do, not what you want to do in the future. What are you doing now? The second question is, what's working? You got to understand what's working. And then the third question is, what's not working? So if you do this analysis, really question and really think on this and come up with these answers, then stop doing what's not working and spend that time and money and energy into doing more of what is working. Simple idea, very powerful in any area of your life. But you got to make the decision. And the decision is the big thing. You know, we are where we are in our life right now based on the decisions we've made so far. And if we want to have a better life, we have to make the decision to be a better person. You and I, we want to change our life. We have to change ourselves, because God's not going to change our condition until we change what's within our souls, in our heart, and our mind. And that's what we're all about here, because we're spiritual beings in this physical body. So the other three questions I want to leave you with is knowing who you are, that you are a spiritual being. You're not your mind. You're not your physique. Yeah, we've been programmed. You know, that's why we act like our parents, or we look like our parents. But that's not who you are, because you're a soul. You know, the Spirit of the Almighty has been breathed into you, and that's what gives you life. And that Spirit is in everything that's alive. When that Spirit leaves, we call that death. Right? So know who you are, and also know where you are. And third, know where you're going. A lot of programs deal with where you're going, but they don't deal with where you are. That's a difference in what we're doing. Because you have to know where you are in order to figure out how to get where you want to go. If you were dropped off in the U.S. anywhere and you wanted to get to the room where you are right now, wouldn't you need to know where you were in order to figure out how to get where you want to be? Absolutely. And so we want to recognize that nothing is good or bad except what we think it is. Nothing has meaning except the meaning that we give to it. And so we want to have some self-control so we can manage our emotions and our thoughts so that we can make better decisions and have better behaviors and better results. And there's something inside of you that's urging you to grow. You know, spirit is always seeking growth. You know, even the sun, even the sun that shines on the plants. If you have a plant or a tree and it's looking for the sun, and in its trajectory something comes and blocks it, it will shift and move around that thing so that it can still be in the path to get that sunlight. That's the natural thing. So we have to make some adaptations in our life. And ultimately, those adaptations have to do with our emotions, because that's where the consciousness is. That's where the awareness is. That's where the power and energy is to change our life, our behavior, our habits, and our life. So the key thing to understand for us as human beings is that we don't change unless we get dissatisfied or we have some pain. And in order to get past that pain, we have to get more engaged in life, more passion, more extra effort, and more commitment. And as we do that, whatever goal you're working on, you got to become obsessed with it. You can't keep doing what you've been doing and think you're going to get different results. Even Einstein said that's insanity. What you want to do is get obsessed with what it is you're trying to accomplish right now. Yeah, you might have to get up earlier. You might have to stay up later. Yeah, you might have to miss your favorite TV show. Turn that stuff off, right? Because you have something that you want that's driving you from inside of you. Don't you know that good urge, that desire for good, it comes from the power of God that's in you? You have to be obedient to it and respond to it if you want to be happiest. Because we're happiest when we are achieving meaningful goals and we feel better. And those two things are going to work with each other all of the time. So I'll tell you, this goal that you have in terms of becoming a success, you got to be as serious as a heart attack in terms of this. Or I'll say, you got to be as serious as recovering from a liver transplant in order to reach this goal that you want. Because if your life depended on you reaching this goal, you wouldn't have any excuses. You would find the money, you would make the time, you would do whatever it is that you need to do if your life depended on it. If I stuck a gun up to your head and said, accomplish this goal or you're going to get shot, you will figure it out. You will do it. And that's the kind of spirit that you want to have in order to attain this particular goal that you're pursuing now. So we're going to work on it from inside out. We got some upcoming exercises and things to do, but I wanted to share just a little bit of my experience because this has worked for me and it's worked for everybody that has done this. And I wanted to give you this formula. And I'll promise you two things. If you will stay in this process and do the work, I promise you, you will improve your life and what it is that you're after. And I also promise you, if you don't do the work and don't stay in the process, then you will stay where you are. Or you might even go backward because life is all about growth. We're either growing or we're deteriorating. We're either swimming upstream or the current of life is bringing us back down. So I want to thank you for watching the video. Thank you for believing in yourself and trusting and believing in me and trusting in order to take this journey. And I love you and God bless you. Hope to see you in the office hours.